Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Smack Your Cock Raw. As always, I am your podcast host with the most, Johnny De Lazerta, joined here by the big black cock himself, Mr. Jonathan Steele. Jonathan, how's it going today?
What's up, son? I am doing fantastic and ready to talk some wrestling tonight.
Fantastic. That's what we love. That's what we do. And that's the purpose of Smack Your Cock Raw. If this is your first time listening, let me take you through what we do here. Here at Smack Your Cock Raw, we are a weekly recap show. We go over the musings throughout the week of the WWE, discussing the two flagship shows, which are Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. We decide what we think's going on in the WWE, where the company's going. We pick our best and worst views of the week, address maybe the rumors we're hearing online, finally before closing it off with some predictions. So let's just dive right into it. Mr. Steele, what did you think of this crazy week in the WWE?
You know what? I am just looking so forward to SummerSlam now, obviously because of the Brock Lesnar and John Cena match, because those promos from Raw were just epic. That just made me right there. Even though I've got the network and I'm good, it just made me, even if I wasn't with the network, I'd be ready to either buy the network at $9.99 for a month or go ahead and shell out the money for that pay-per-view.
Yeah, everyone knows it's $9.99 per month, especially after last week's Raw, but we'll get to that. But absolutely, the way they're building this match, they're building it like a UFC fight. And if you look at the vignettes and you look at the previews of the match to come, they're saying it's the biggest fight of the summer. They're building it as more of an MMA, UFC fight rather than a wrestling match, which is an interesting perspective of the way that the build is going and the hype. They pretty much produced a UFC hype video.
No, they absolutely did. And the best part about that is it's something a little bit different, a little bit refreshing, because it works for Brock's character, obviously now being a former UFC fighter, being just a legit badass. And even though John Cena, of course, is always overcoming odds, he does really, truly have that underdog mentality and feel. You can see with the promos, way Brock, with his really weird voice, talks about being an ass kicker and doesn't care about what people think, but still very effective way to market it. And also, if you think about it, since SummerSlam is one of the bigger pay-per-views, it goes to a mainstream audience. Quite frankly, with Brock Lesnar, you're going to get mainstream press, so they're kind of building it towards where you can take it and put it on maybe a little bit like Sports Center or like at least Sports Nation. It has almost a crossover feel.
If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, we're speaking of the black and white vignette, the pretty much UFC hype video that WWE put out with a preview of the match to come at SummerSlam. Now, something I found interesting were Brock Lesnar's choice of words of leaving John Cena in a pool of his own blood and urine and vomit and whatever else that he said. I thought that was a bit off the top, but very effective.
Yeah, it was something. I mean, it just shows that at least they're trying to put forth that epic big fight feel, and that's going to really transcend a wrestling match. Even though, yes, it is a professional wrestling match, it almost feels like a legit fight or a street fight where the holes are going to go out the window. At the end of the day, Brock's looking to basically beat Cena down so he can't get up anymore. I mean, break his bones, cut him, just do things that you see in UFC fights.
And I'm thinking, too, as I thought all along, that Brock Lesnar's going to go over at SummerSlam, hold the belt till WrestleMania. But that thought is coming down a little less and a little less every day. I'm thinking with the way it's being built, maybe Cena goes over at SummerSlam. Maybe Cena retains the title and Brock wins at Night of Champions. What are your thoughts?
You know what? I think that would be an interesting way to think about it, and honestly, it wouldn't surprise me a bit because we've seen Cena overcome the odds so much, and even when he wrestled The Rock in the Once in a Lifetime match at WrestleMania, only to go into Once in a Lifetime Part 2, Cena kind of went in as the underdog, and The Rock took it. So anything is possible because you know what? I enjoyed Brock Lesnar and Cena's match last year, right after WrestleMania. And the fact that the network has already re-showed that match after Raw. So I think that we are banking on having Lesnar versus Cena a couple times. And seeing him win at SummerSlam wouldn't surprise me. I personally don't think it's going to happen, but quite frankly, it really wouldn't surprise me at all.
Cena winning never surprised me, especially when we're dealing with the WWE. Folks, now I've got to apologize. I'm fighting off a bit of a sore throat, a bit of a hoarse voice because this past Sunday, the day before Raw, I attended a WWE Road to SummerSlam house show in San Antonio, Texas. So I haven't had a voice for the past few days. I screamed my head off. It was a fantastic event. I'm going to give you just a couple of highlights from it right now, just to tell you that the level of intensity put out by some of these performers, namely the Usos, who had a match against the Wyatts, they were over the top. They played to the crowd. I thought it was fantastic. Bray Wyatt versus Chris Jericho. That's a SummerSlam match that they gave us at a house show. Jericho went over after hitting the code breaker, after breaking away from an attempted Sister Abigail. It was a great show, a terrific show. But something that caught my eye at that show, and I'm going to segue into talking about Raw here, is that show closed with Roman Reigns versus Kane in a last man standing match. That match from the house show, which I'm guessing was their rehearsal, was spot for spot the exact match shown to open Monday Night Raw, save for the fact that there was no unmasking of Kane at the end. Everything from the steel steps being put out in the walkway by Kane to being used by Roman Reigns, the exact finish, all the moves, I mean, almost spot for spot. Every time that when Reigns roared to the crowd, when he shook his hair off, everything was almost the exact same. I wish I had taped that match, but I didn't. I taped small segments, but it was exactly the same from the house show into Raw, and the level of intensity you saw at Monday Night Raw was the exact same level of intensity delivered at the house show. It was fantastic. Mr. Steele, what are your thoughts on that match from Monday Night Raw?
You know what? If you saw the exact same thing, I guess the only thing missing was Roman Reigns getting those staples in his head from those steps. That was a brutal spot.
Right.
But you know what? This was a great way to open Raw, and quite honestly, it was a very good pay-per-view level match that we got for free. And Roman Reigns is just, his charisma and just ability to capture the audience is just off the charts right now. And Kane was a perfect foil for that because everyone knew Kane was not going to win. However, Kane is doing the exact same thing he should be, the thing they need to be doing at this point in his career, putting over younger talent, still being the threat, still being the demon presence, even with him unmasking at the end of his match.
At 47 years old.
47. Think about that for a second. He is 47 years old. He looks like he's in some of the best shape of his life, and he's still going, and he's still wrestling almost every single week. I mean, that's just amazing. Also, side note, I found out today Jason Statham is 47 years old, too. So think about that for a second.
Wow.
But anyway, it was a great match, and I was a little bit upset when Raw started off with a promo, but however, once we got that match and you're into it, I was wanting more.
Right. Now, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Something that happened at the house show that doesn't happen on Raw, you never see Roman Reigns shaking hands with the crowd. And after that match, he went around the ring not once, but twice to shake people's hands. Of course, I got to shake his hand, which I thought was a class act. You know, they can't have him do it on TV. It's a house show. He went around shaking hands. He went and signed stuff for kids that were at ringside. Roman Reigns is just a class act.
Well, you know what? That's what's good about house shows, though, because or when they turn the cameras off at the live tapings. Like I went to a taping of SmackDown last year in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Randy Orton. I mean, he was still a face at this point, but when the lights went off, he went around. He actually went around the ring, shook hands with kids, same thing, signed pictures, he signed autographs, took pictures and things like that. And it's a nice way just to show, the appreciation to the crowd. Because going to WWE or going to really any wrestling show like that is not cheap. That's a lot of money you're spending.
No, it's not.
And you know what? Quite honestly, it's cool to see them come out because that just makes that kid's millennium. Even though if it's one small thing, they're tired and that's the last thing they want to do. You know what? They stick around, take a couple pictures, say hi, they high-five people, and just give people the memory that lasts for a lifetime.
Right. It'll make that kid's day or that 31-year-old overweight guy. That's me. So what are your thoughts on the unmasking of Kane handing his mask to Stephanie? Where do we go from here with the Demon?
I think that, honestly, it sounds like See No Evil 2 is going to be coming out fairly soon. So I think this is him taking some time off to go and film his, or the movie's already filmed, go promote it, and we might see Kane come back. I was hoping we get more of corporate Kane, because quite honestly, I like seeing him in the suit and him trying to be like Stooge. but I think they were going to get Kane to come back again, put the mask back on at some point, and they constantly make him heel or face. So whatever need they have, he'll come in and fill it.
Now, let's say another authority stooge. Let's kind of talk about this for a minute. A very surprising match on Raw this week was the loss by Seth Rollins to Heath Slater.
Yeah, that one, I had my jaw dropped completely to the floor. I mean, I understand what they're doing storyline-wise with Ambrose and Seth Rollins. However, Heath Slater going over him, that was incredible, because when he comes out in place of Rob Van Dam and Seth Rollins kind of ordering him in the ring and essentially get down, I almost thought we were going to get not quite the finger poke of doom, but some quick victory. And Heath Slater, you know what, went about 12 minutes in the match, and yes, of course, the interference with Ambrose, he still gets a very big win, and you didn't forget the win. He was in the main event of Raw. And when the last time you remember Heath Slater in the main event of Raw was when the Nexus was created.
Long time ago.
Exactly. I mean, that's what Nexus, that was what, about 4 years ago now?
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
Exactly.
And it's definitely been a long time for him. And if you get that, with having been the one to eliminate Cesaro and now a win over Seth Rollins, you can say, yes, it was Ambrose interference, all you want, which is what some people in the IWC will say. But the fact of the matter is, these matches are predetermined, of course. So he has some kind of backing from someone in the upper office that said, go ahead and give him a win. That's 2 more key victories for Heath Slater. And I don't want to say that his stock is on the rise, but having him win in the main event of Raw, that's huge.
That is, you know what, by doing that, he stepped over Titus O'Neil. Even though he's tag team partners with Titus O'Neil, he's stepping over Titus, and stepped over Sin Cara and Fandango, and he's coming out of the basement. He is, in fact, he's a little bit higher than Damian Sandow. You know, Sandow's on TV every week. I mean, look at this week. He dropped out to Mark Henry in about a minute and a half. Slater's in the main event, and he wins. He gets that victory, and you know what? He also got a victory in the main event the following night, pinning Goldust. And Goldust and Stardust are getting a little bit of tag team love. So, you know what? It's just good to see that Slater, who's obviously worked very hard, has worked through some very, very crap booking and gimmicks, is now, you know, getting a little bit of getting a little appreciation backstage, and you know, good for him.
And it makes me seem like someone in the management is rewarding him for being a good soldier. He's been that guy. He's done what they needed him to do. Heath Slater has answered the call whenever they've asked him to. He's done the job, and he's getting a little bit of reward right now. So good for him. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like on a very much smaller scale. Look at The Miz. The Miz is a guy, I mean, he started off on the Real World, comes in, and you know he wasn't very well liked because they looked at him as the reality star from Tough Enough and everything. And he did all that, and even after he won the WWE title, and he had the very unsuccessful face push, and they started jobbing him out and putting him in ridiculous situations, he kept plugging along, and he was in movies and everything, and now look at him, he's the Intercontinental Champion. He's in a pretty decent feud with Dolph Ziggler. So I'm not saying that's going to happen with Heath Slater, but it's kind of the same mentality. He's being rewarded for all of his hard work.
I think that The Miz is fantastic. I'm loving the Hollywood Miz gimmick, and not to keep bringing up stories from the house show, but I was there with my girl, and she yelled at him. She's a huge Miz fan. She said, "Show me your body. Show me your sexy body." He heard her, looked right at her, raised his eyebrow, bent over, and started moving his butt back and forth. Like that kind of thing, like that little snobbiness and playing to the crowd, playing to the females in the crowd is what makes him such a great heel.
It definitely is, and you know what? That's where he needs to be all along. I mean, I understand why they made him face, because he was super over, and people were cheering for him. But it's just that the face run didn't work. Just his character. I know people always, at least people over 12 years old, love all the heels. He's a guy that is a natural heel. Just everything about where he came from and just his mannerisms and everything else says that he. Actually, except for the time I met The Miz. Man, this was probably. Sorry to go on his long story, but this was probably about 2005 or so. He was still doing the Real World tours, like going to bars and everything, and basically drinking with people and saying, "Hey, I was from the Real World." Well, I knew him from Tough Enough, so I was talking about how he was, you know, he was in wrestling and everything, because I was working at the bar that was next to the bar that he was at. So one of the security guys and got him and brought him over. So I got to meet him like at the end of the night. And of course, I was wearing my APA shirt that night, so I'm like sitting there marking out completely over the Miz. This is before he even really did anything in the WWE, and he seemed genuinely, I guess, happy about it, and also probably a little weirded out that some 30-year-old guys like marking out, showing him an APA T-shirt.
Wow, man, that's pretty awesome. I think anytime that you're able to meet one of the superstars of the WWE, especially if they're really good and accommodating like that, man, that just speaks to some of the integrity of the company. Some of them, of course, can be assholes, but people that actually take time out of their schedule to meet the fans, I think that's great.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, obviously, it made a memory for me. I wish I still had the picture. It's on my old flip phone. That lets you know how long ago this happened. But still, the fact that he came out, I'm sure he's probably tired and dealing with drunk idiots all night long. So taking a few minutes to say what's up to a fan was pretty freaking sweet.
Excellent. So now let's move on to another match, which I thought was fantastic from Raw. Now, with John Cena and Brock Lesnar both not being at Raw on Monday, now someone had to come out, someone had to shine and steal the spotlight, and my thoughts were that it was Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose in that match with Alberto Del Rio tore the roof off the building. Thoughts?
Absolutely. As we've said before in this very program, that Del Rio's a workhorse, and he is very underrated in what he does. He doesn't always connect with at least with the internet fans, I think. But overall, the guy is solid. He had a great match. Quite honestly, as much as I'm big Dean Ambrose, I thought Alberto Del Rio kind of stole the show from him the other night. But still, it was an epic confrontation. And again, I think we got another pay-per-view quality match for free.
Absolutely. I think that the type of wrestling with the spots that were called, it was just clean, good, solid wrestling. Again, it was a fans match. And I know I've used that term before, but I'll say it again. That match was a fans match. And Dean Ambrose, especially when he came out during Seth Rollins' Beat the Clock match, his antics that he was pulling, just his mannerisms, he's playing to the fans. He knows the fans want to see him as more Mox than Dean Ambrose, and he's delivering.
He absolutely is. And you know what, too? Also, I love the ring psychology of Del Rio. Once he kept on working Ambrose's shoulder and arm, because, Ambrose always has that tape. And I know that someone said in the Raw chat that Ambrose's shoulder tape is going to be this century's or this generation's Bob Orton's cast. That's kind of it. Ambrose is always wearing that tape, and he is always basically, that shoulder is going to be played as a little bit of a liability. You know what? Del Rio worked it, was flaunting it with triangle fed armbar submission, and it was just beautiful stuff. Oh, and it was Matthew. It was Matthew. I think his name is Medea. So if I'm butchering his name, I'm sorry, but that's who mentioned the Dean Ambrose Bob Orton casting. Shout out to one of our members out there.
Shout out to Matthew Maidana out there in the cock world. To me, Del Rio correctly targeted that shoulder. Now, there's an opportunity whenever someone faces Ambrose or faces a wrestler with a visual splint or type of cast on to go ahead and work that. And I think that sometimes, especially recently, that's been underutilized by people facing Ambrose. Because you have to think, if that's a real wrestling match, you're going to focus all your on the injured appendage.
You are, but also in this day and age, let's be honest. People want completely fast-paced all the time, and they want a bunch of spots. So when they'll sit there and start chanting boring with something like that. But that's good mat-based wrestling. It's good chain wrestling. Is to be able to get the opponent, focus on that part, weaken them to at that point where you're going to finish him off. Especially a submission wrestler like Alberto Del Rio. That just makes sense. He'll smell blood in the water, even though he's got the kicks and everything. His bread and butter is going to be the armbar submission.
Correct. Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree. Anything else that you want to hit on from Raw before we start going into some of our predictions for SummerSlam?
Yes. You know what? I've got to say this. I love Antonio Cesaro. I don't know what in the hell he's done, but his just fall from losing a great match with John Cena a few weeks ago to even Raw getting the Jobber's entrance, and also SmackDown opening a show against Jack Swagger in a match you knew Swagger was going to go over. And I don't know what Cesaro's done, but I just hope he gets it corrected, because I don't want to see Cesaro jobbing out week after week like this.
I've got an interesting thought, and I've thought about this for a while, is why Cesaro has gone from a guy with a huge push to a jobber. Let's just call it like it is. He's been a jobber the past 2 weeks. And I think that WWE, more specifically Vince and Triple H, don't have faith in him on the mic. They don't have faith enough in him to put him in a top feud, which is why, even though he was hugely over, they put him with Paul Heyman. They put him with Paul Heyman, knowing Heyman's a heel, knowing Heyman's going to get booze from the crowd, because that's just who he is. They put him with Paul Heyman, and that killed his push immediately. He's not as over as Brock Lesnar as a heel to be able to sustain having someone like Paul Heyman on his team. So what that did is that killed Cesaro's push, first and foremost. Now, when Brock Lesnar came back, Heyman, of course, had to go and had to come out with Brock. So they had to just arbitrarily remove Heyman being paired with Cesaro. Now Cesaro's where he should have been all along, but they don't have enough faith in him to allow him to speak on the mic. They think his promo skills aren't there, so they're just letting him fall by the wayside until whatever happens with Brock Lesnar's over and they can put someone back in his corner to speak for him. And it's a travesty because that man is a phenomenal wrestler. He's strong. He's quick. He has the moves. He's got charisma. He is a beast, and he's being wasted.
He is. He really is. And it's almost like the same thing the way with Brock Lesnar, where even though Brock was already hugely over, it's just that Brock. I mean, I think Brock can deliver a good promo. It's just you can't get over just the voice because his voice doesn't match his body. And I think it's a little bit of Cesaro. I mean, not that speaking with accent's a bad thing because there are plenty of wrestlers that are over that speak with accents, but I think that's part of it because he doesn't have that like Americanized sound. He does speak with a Swiss accent, and it's just that with the promos, he's the type of guy that doesn't need to say a whole lot of things. Kind of like with Roman Reigns' promos. They've been carefully scripted where he's not saying a whole lot, but he's saying just enough, and he's letting his charisma take over. That's what they should be doing with Cesaro, but they're not. They let him speak a little bit, and you're right. Triple H, Vince probably don't have faith in him, so now you're just getting him out there to sit there and hit a couple power spots and then just do the job.
And that's sad because that could be a main event wrestler if they use him right. Maybe they're thinking he can learn and they can pick it up later. I'm very worryful for the future of Cesaro. Let's hope that something turns around and he gets back in the spotlight. Now, another wrestler that I really wanted to focus on today, because I saw an outside interview with him, is going from someone that has low promo skills to maybe one of the best promos in the WWE, is Bray Wyatt. Now, speaking on Bray Wyatt, and I know it's an older interview that I saw online, but he was describing the difference between who he is now and who he was when he was Husky Harris. And something that I thought was very interesting was, in his eyes, what he said is that Husky Harris was a creation of the WWE, was someone they wanted him to be. They tried to fit him in that mold, and it didn't work. And he said that was a dark time in his life and something that he doesn't want to really go into as much because that was a darker period where they tried to force him to be someone, and it wasn't successful. But when they allowed him to incorporate parts of himself into the character, he was hugely successful. He says that as Bray Wyatt, no one hands him a script and tells him what to read, that he'll have an idea what he's going to say, but if they were to hand him a script, he'd just throw it away. Your thoughts?
You know what? That sounds very familiar. I mean, think about Stone Cold Steve Austin, the ringmaster. Think about The Rock, Rocky Maivia. I mean, there's some guys who just have it and are able to just go completely off script, and whether it's elements of their own personality or what, they just make it work. And yeah, Husky Harris was forgettable. You got kind of a little bit of a plump guy out there. I mean, pretty athletic, but it's like, okay, he's just like random big heel. Almost, he reminded me a little bit of Trevor Murdoch. Trevor Murdoch, I happen to like him as a wrestler a lot, but he kind of reminded me just of almost a bigger version of Trevor Murdoch without, like, I guess the redneck persona that Murdoch had that at least made him, for me, interesting. He was just, there's this guy there. He's part of the new Nexus, and that was about it. But again, you're right. As Bray Wyatt, I mean, he's got personality. He's got the ability to make the audience eat out of your palm. And some people are just born with that ability. He's definitely one of them. Because Bray Wyatt, even if he ever loses steam, he just still comes out there, says a promo, you do the entrance, with the lights flashing and everything, and you're just immediately hooked. I mean, he can go out there and read the phone book. But if it was interesting to read the phone book, we'd see all night.
Right, absolutely. And to me, that's the kind of person that needs to be allowed to go. But my point in bringing this up is it makes me curious as to how many characters, how many great superstars have been stifled because they are sticking with something that WWE thinks is going to work. Now, Vince is a genius. Vince has been able to create some of the most memorable characters in history. They don't always get it right. The ringmaster, Rocky Maivia, Husky Harris, they didn't get it right. They needed to allow the wrestler to incorporate a part of their own personality to make it work. That's why you've got your Stone Cold and your Bray Wyatts, and there's some of the greater personas that were out there. When Dusty Rhodes was there, that was him. That was part of his persona. When and I know it's a different promotion, but the Fabulous Freebirds, that was their persona. How many wrestlers today are being stifled because they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole? Now, and Stone Cold has talked about it many times on his podcast, where they've got some of these people that will just try to make it work, and they're too afraid to stand up to the boss and say, look, that's shit. This is what we need to do.
I think part of the reason why is that there's very few people that are going to be out there, be like Stone Cold, be like The Rock, or even be like Bray Wyatt, who are just going to stand up and say, you know what, I want to try this. Because think about it, you've got some wrestler, superstar, entertainer, whatever you want to call them. They finally made it to the big time. This is the pinnacle of where they want to be. And they know it, just like in professional athletics. There's always someone there's younger, stronger, faster, waiting to take your spot. So I think a lot of people resign to the fact that, hey, this may not be working, but hey, I'm getting a paycheck, I'm doing what I love, I'm traveling, or even if they don't like the traveling, you're still looking at the money and saying, hey, I'm selling a few T-shirts, I'm on TV, I'm getting the fame and recognition I've always wanted, and they're okay with just being a comedy job or just sitting there, maybe just being on TV or once in a while, or even just at this point being somebody that's on Superstars or Main Event every week, because they're just comfortable, and they're afraid that they step up and say something that they're going to be torn down, they're going to be released, and then what's next? They might be able to catch on in the Indies or maybe go to TNA or maybe Jarrett's new promotion, but they'll never be as what they see as just a global giant, despite what some people think. But yes, the global giant that is WWE.
So we'll have to wait and see about what pops up in the future. But let's hope that some wrestlers, if any of you happen to catch this podcast, hey, man, stop walking on eggshells. Get out there and take what's yours.
Exactly. Moving on. Be yourself, man. That's all you can say is be yourself.
No, I agree. Be yourself. Get it done. Now, some people out there in internet land, let's not even say that. Let's say within our own Facebook group, some people were upset that for the second time in a row, you had Stephanie McMahon and Brie Bella close the show. Now, idiots out there are saying, why are you having women close the show 2 weeks in a row? That's ridiculous, stupid. I'm not even going to address that. I'm going to say that I enjoyed the contract signing on Monday. I thought that, drama that could be created by these two was great. I thought that it was a good addition to the show. Yes, Stephanie's daddy owns the company. Yes, she wanted to close out Raw, and she got to do it twice in a row. But I thought it was good TV. Your thoughts?
Out of the 52 weeks that we have Raw, one calendar year, women are going to close out the show. Probably this feud only. It's something that it's different because we don't see a lot. You can look at any of the competing promotions out there, TNA or even Ring of Honor, and you're not going to see a women's feud closing out the show. And it's making me want to see their match. I remember last week I said I just wouldn't care that much about it. After these 2 weeks, and especially after Stephanie delivered some pretty good man, I can't even think. I've been at work for a long time today. Not blows. Pedigrees. There we go.
There you go.
she delivered two really good pedigrees. It just added intensity and essentially fuel to the fire, because now you've made it per. Bree's been calling Stephanie names and everything, and Bree got Stephanie arrested. Well, now Stephanie is just sitting there just blasting on Nikki. That pedigree she delivered, I mean, that thing looked vicious. And
Agreed.
It just makes me, I mean, even though I still have reservations about the actual quality of the wrestling, you know what, it's going to be a fight, because even though Stephanie hasn't been in the ring for about a decade and Bree's not really an active wrestler at this point, it's still going to just be intense. It's going to be personal. And quite honestly, it's probably going to be a little violent. And that's what people are sitting there. They want Attitude Era. Attitude Era had women sitting there going in very violent, hard-nosed matches, and this potentially could be one of those matches.
Like a Lita match.
Oh, absolutely, like a Lita and Trish Stratus match.
Correct. I'm banking on the fact that Stephanie hasn't been in the ring in 10 years. And like you, I've changed my opinion about this match. Now I'm banking on the vanity of Stephanie McMahon. We know that woman, even though she does great things for charity, you know that woman cares what people think. She's got to have a level of vanity to her to be the perfectionist that she is. Look at how she takes care of her body. Look at how even with the cosmetic surgery, the implants, she wants people to see her have an image of perfection. So I'm banking on that for her to get in there and to work her ass off and to deliver a good match. The more I think about it, and after these two segments, I'm starting to get hyped for this match.
Absolutely. And also, if you think about it, I mean, look at her brother, Shane. Shane delivered in his match. Shane was just crazy, had some wrestling skill, but definitely went out and hit those spots. And I think it's the same type of attitude of just perfection. Yes, they know that their name is McMahon and that their father owns a company, but at the same time, too, their name is out there, too, and they know they're going to be running at some point. And why sit there and just give out crap when you know that you still need us as a viewer to consume the product, to buy the $9.99 network, to buy the T-shirts and the armbands and whatever other crap they sell. And
now, how much for the network? How much for the network?
I heard it was $9.99, but I could be wrong about that.
I thought so too. Herman Cain endorsing the WWE Network for its $9.99. Now, shout out also, I'm a Shane O'Mac fan, so shout out to the Shane O'Mac fan out there, hoping for Shane's eventual return.
Yes, indeed. He needs to come home.
Definitely, I agree. So, now finally, and I was thinking about talking about this week, the whole Xavier Woods, Malcolm X thing, but we'll get into that next week. Let's talk, and let's close out our talk about Active Feud with one that is still one of my personal favorites, with Jack Swagger and Rusev. Now, I think they might have hit a plateau as far as where the stare downs go, but I'm still excited to see this match. I'm still hoping that this is going to be one of the bigger matches of SummerSlam, and I really am thinking Jack Swagger is going to go over. Your thoughts?
You know what? I really, really would like for Swagger to go over, because I think that's another guy that's been saddled with some bad stuff. I mean, granted, part of it was his own doing, because he likes to indulge in a bit of the hydroponics, which are legal in Colorado and Washington and pretty much nowhere else right now. So,
shout out to the Rob Van Dam out there on the hydroponics.
Absolutely, my friend. But anyway, so Swagger's done some things to push himself down the ladder. But you know what? He's another guy that's done everything is asked of him, and he's getting a mini push. It's just that if they're going to build Rusev, and let's say that they're going to have Rusev go for a title or something next, one of the mid-card titles, I just don't see how him losing, even though they're definitely showing him weakness and him being caught in the Patriot lock, I just don't see how Rusev can lose this match. I think that he'll probably win, but of course we'll take down the Russian flag and Old Glory flies high. But at the end of the day, I still see Rusev just winning this match.
I hope Swagger goes over. Maybe it is because it's a flag match, which I don't even. What is a flag match? I've yet to see one. Do you know anything about a flag match?
You know what? I've even looked it up. My guess is going to be some sort of Vince Russo special where maybe they've got a poll and see who can beat down their opponent and raise their flag first. will probably be the winner, or maybe they'll just take flags and beat each other. I mean, I have no idea, and quite honestly, I don't think WWE has an idea of it yet either.
Now, if it is one of those type of things where it's the person to get their flag up first, maybe that's the way that they let Swagger go over, because he didn't actually pin Rusev. Maybe Rusev gets knocked unconscious, or it's some way to keep his image as being a legitimate threat without having that diminished. And I still think, hopefully Swagger goes over, that's my hope. But I still think they're saving Rusev for Cena. They're going to build him up as an opponent for Cena somewhere down the line.
I mean, they quite possibly could be doing that, but it just, I don't see where it fits now. If you got them feeling that Brock Lesnar, if they're smart, this is going to last more than just through summer on to, I don't know, like Sheamus or something like that. I just don't see how you can keep Rusev that hot that long.
Right. Well, that is true. I see Cena and Lesnar going at it at least through Survivor Series. I think that's gonna take most of the year up, and then I think after that they're gonna start gearing up for Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, which the 9-year-old fan in me, even the 31-year-old fan in me, is marking out. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but can you imagine that fight?
That'll be another one where you're going to get definitely a big feel, because you got two freakishly athletic guys going, and even though Brock is older, and I say older meaning he's like in his mid-late 30s, but still you got a guy that looks like he's starting to hit his wrestling stride again. And of course Roman Reigns is being pushed to the roof, and that guy just oozes athleticism, and it'd be something that'd be a very hard-hitting match where you get lots of, you'll get your spots, but there's going to be so much, power going on, and just things that are going to make wrestling fans just completely mark. I know I'd be ready to mark out the minute Roman Reigns hits Brock with a Superman punch, or Brock gets him up for an F5, just things like that just have me just completely giddy.
Right, and I say fight and not a match, because it would be billed as more of a fight. And the Superman punch is definitely something that's used in mixed martial arts, so that just having that, it'd be ironic to have Roman Reigns just kind of hit Brock with that, drop him to the ground. Oh, I'm sorry. The kid in me is marking out already and getting goosebumps as it is.
Well, if you watched some of Brock's fights, though, Shane Carwin was dropping him with a whole bunch of punches, too. Just he punched himself out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, moving on, that's going to cover our feuds in WWE right now. Now, let's move on to our best and worst feuds of the week. Mr. Steele.
Okay, you know what? For me, my best feud, at least for the week, I'm going to go with the ladies on this one. I think Stephanie and Brie Bella, because you know what? They've closed out the show twice, and they're starting to get me turned. Because when this was being billed all the way back at Payback, I was thinking, man, I don't want to see this crap. You know what? Now I am genuinely interested to see what's going to happen with their match at SummerSlam. That reason alone, I say it's the best feud.
I will go along with you and pick the ladies. I will pick a different set of ladies, though. I am liking Paige and AJ at this point, especially after the injury that happened last week. Paige and AJ has just been announced for SummerSlam, which we all knew was going to happen anyway. I think that there is so much potential within this match to do great things. I think that if you put the strap back on Paige, these two ladies, who have phenomenal wrestling ability, don't get me wrong, can go at it for months and months to come. The developments in that match, the way Paige has made herself into just a great heel, just her looks, her mannerisms, what she does when, like last week when AJ was injured, and she said, get up, AJ, it's going to be okay. Oh, no, she's fine. Don't worry. That's my best friend right there. That craziness to her is great, and I'm really enjoying that feud at this moment.
You know what? I am enjoying that feud. However, I think that part of it is that they really want to make up for that very lackluster match they had at the last pay-per-view. I think that, not saying that they would continue with it, but I think that part of the reason why it feels much more intense is they know that they didn't put on the best match they could. For whatever reason, everything seemed off. So essentially, they're getting the chance to hit the reset button at one of the bigger pay-per-views of the year.
Right, yeah, they know they screwed up. Now, as far as your worst feud of the week?
You know what? My worst feud of the week is, I hate to pick on Cesaro again, is anything that he's involved with, even though he's technically out of feud, it's just that, I guess, Cesaro versus management is the worst feud of the week, because it's just head-scratching what's happened for him in a month of where he was. at the beginning, really the beginning of the summer to where he is right now. It's just mind-boggling.
I give my end to that. Cesaro versus Cesaro as the worst feud of the week. Let's hope he picks it up and turns things around. And now it's time for the Cock segment of the week with the cock queen herself, Miss Lauren Ray. Lauren, what's on your mind?
I'm a little apprehensive, honestly. We're starting to head towards the final run into SummerSlam, and as much of a Jericho-holic as I am, I'm a huge Bray Wyatt fan. I don't know how I feel about this match, man. It's not building up very well.
The build-up has been a little slow, more of a simmer than a slow burn. You know, I was hoping for just a little bit more, but the theatrics haven't been there as much as I thought they would be. On the other note, I'm a huge Jericho-holic. I'm a huge fan of Bray Wyatt. I think that the match in and itself would be great. And not to go off on a tangent, but I was at a house show this weekend that had a Jericho and Wyatt match, and I thought it was great. That match is available on ColdColdCafe.com, the Facebook page. But anyway, I thought it went great. You know, I think that the two names will carry it. But yeah, you're right. The build-up hasn't been as much over the top as I thought it was going to be.
No, it's, usually, when Jericho comes back, he's always coming back to huge pops. He's a huge draw, and unlike most of the part-timers that I'm not going to name, when he comes back, he's actually doing work. He's doing the house shows. He's getting the crowds involved. And I think what happened is, as soon as we saw him come back, we thought we were going to get, the same electrifying performances that he usually brings. But I'm not sure if it's because of ring rust. Maybe his best days are behind him, or maybe creative's got something up their sleeve. It's not clicking as well, and it's a shame because he even said that when he came back, he wanted to come back to something that had a lot of meat in it. He's been lobbying to work with Bray, and stuff got put off because of Fozzy, and Bray had such huge momentum, but I think a lot of it did get killed with the program with Cena, even though Cena looks like he tried his best to help Bray rise up.
To shine him up a little bit. Yeah, and I've noticed with Chris Jericho, I'm an avid listener of his podcast, that even though he still tries to bring energy to it, he does sound a little more, I don't want to say tired or exhausted, but you can hear it in his voice that there's just a little bit of that spark gone. Maybe he's overexerting himself, but, Y2J is still a hell of a performer. I still think he's going to bring it at SummerSlam, but you're right, there has been just, and it's maybe only noticeable to the hardcore fan, just a little bit missing.
Yeah, something just, it feels off. I don't know what it is. Now, hopefully at SummerSlam they both bring it. Bray, his in-ring talent is getting better. Jericho's always known to pull out the stops at any time. And, Rowan and Harper aren't allowed to be at ringside. They're going to show up. I expect something to happen with Harper. I don't know. I get the feeling that there's a little bit more going on with Harper, and he's about to get his time to shine really quick here, and I think this is going to be the start of it.
That would be fantastic. So where do you see this feud going from this day forward?
Well, since they seem to actually be giving it a direction, and it seems like Bray is rallying against Jericho because, he left, he keeps leaving, the whole, save us, Chris. I see him trying to overtake him and become a new savior.
All right, you heard it there first from the cock queen herself, Miss Lauren Ray. Lauren, thank you for your input on this week's show, and we look forward to hearing from you next week.
All right, talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, after that segment, let's move into our rumor of the week. Mr. Steele, every week, has gone out on the internet and found one of the more exciting rumors for us to report on here at Smack Your Cock Raw. Mr. Steele, what have you come up with this week?
You know what? I actually found a very interesting one that's gone on for a couple weeks now. As we know that the WWE has signed on with Prince Devitt. Well, he's actually changed his name now, and also Mr. Kenta out of Japan. This one is involving our newest Japanese superstar. Apparently, he's going to have to change his moveset because he uses the go-to-sleep, like a certain Mr. CM Punk. He also uses, as Michael Cole calls it, the flying knees, just like a certain Mr. Daniel Bryan. So it sounds like he's going to have to tweak his moveset a little bit in order to fit, not so much fit into WWE style, but more so to be able to make himself a little more unique, saying that he's not ripping moves from other wrestlers. And that is the best rumor that I've found actually over the past couple of weeks. It was best to me.
That's an interesting point, but something in me thinks that because especially Daniel Bryan has so much Japanese influence, I think that it would actually serve to be better for him to use that type of move, because Daniel Bryan, I mean, especially early in his career when he was the American Dragon, he is openly claimed influenced by the Japanese style. I think it would actually help him, but whatever Kenta decides to do, whatever Prince or Fergal Devitt, he's using his real name now, decides to do, I think they're both great additions to the WWE. They have been rumored for a long time, and let's hope they don't stay in NXT for too long.
Yeah, I hope not either. It's just that I think that, and this is my whole thing with NXT, why I like it so much, since it has the indie feel to it. A lot of things that you can see at NXT just don't always translate to the main roster. Like, look at Adam Rose. Adam Rose, I thought for NXT definitely worked. The crowd was into it, and on the main roster, it's been I'm being nice when I say it hasn't quite gone over. I'm not gonna say it's been a failure, but he certainly hasn't caught on the way they're hoping for him to catch on. And I mean, look at little things like with Emma. Emma was doing the bubble thing and everything in NXT, but people were behind her and also being allowed to wrestle. And on the main roster, I mean, yes, she was caught stealing stuff at Walmart, but at the same time, too, even before when she was with Santino, it just wasn't working. Yeah. And I just hope that their style and what they do, even though hardcore wrestling fans are going to recognize this, you know what, WWE isn't always for the hardcore fans. In fact, it's mostly for the marketing and the kids to be able to get people to go out and buy stuff. And you know what, as Chad Allen actually said earlier today when somebody was talking about the WWE network and people debating whether or not to buy it, wrestling fans are cheap asses. And even though the hardcore fans are sit there and watch and love it, they're not the ones buying the T-shirts. The dads are buying T-shirts for the kids and the moms. They're the ones spending the money to go out to the shows. And I just hope and pray that these two gentlemen that worked very hard to get to WWE get an opportunity to be able to shine and do what they do and not be fit into the WWE mold of random Japanese wrestler or foreign wrestler number 2 or whoever they might do with these guys. Absolutely. Could not agree with you more. So where do you see the WWE going forward as we've got a little over a week and a half left to SummerSlam? What are your predictions going forward? Well, we're definitely going to get more of John Cena and Brock Lesnar. They can still go up more of this. Maybe actually get them in a stare down or something. Because, you know what, look at the recent press conference with John Jones and Daniel Cormier. Even though I completely think it was staged, they had a skirmish just at their press conference. You might get the WWE mimicking a little bit of that with Brock Lesnar and John Cena if they get them together. So I see that coming. I also see more of Bo Dallas, I think, slowly descending into being a crazed heel and not the fake motivational guy because of his recent troubles with R-Truth. So I see kind of that going too. And I also see really more love for the ladies because we're still getting Stephanie and Brie in our main event, or at least closing out the show, and we're getting more intensity out of AJ and Paige. A lot more than what you see with most Divas matches over the past several years. Let's hope that the match between AJ and Paige, and hopefully if Stephanie and Brie Bella have a great match, that'll inspire some of the rest of the ladies to actually learn how to wrestle and to have a better Divas division, because everybody wants to see more Divas. They do, and you know what? The Divas division in NXT is solid. I mean, you see the training and everything. You see the fact they're going out there and they're delivering between like Bayley and Charlotte. Lord, I can't think of the Irish lady's name. Becky something or other. Again, folks, I apologize. I was at work for well over 12 hours today. But either way, they're delivering high-quality matches. And then you get to the main roster, and it's like, hey, let's prance around. Let's have all Divas come out so two of them can wrestle for a minute and a half and then job out. Right. So good things on the horizon for the Divas division. And that should be about it. Mr. Steele, have you got anything else for the folks at home? You know what? Wrestling fans, let me just say this. Please enjoy the ride. I know we like to sit there and pick everything apart and just beat it down to death, which is fine. You can have opinions, but at the end of the day, don't read too much into it. We're watching half-naked, oiled-up men wrestling around. let's have some fun and be kids again. Enjoy it a little bit.
All right. At the end of the day, just have fun. All right. For the Big Black Cock, I am your podcast host with the most, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.